Ukraine has run out of men, and now it's turning to women and younger boys to fill the ranks. That's right. Now, we warned you about this a few weeks ago, but now it's happened. October 1st came. Now the new conscription law in place as of October 1st. Ukraine has passed a new law on military registration of all women conscripts. It's now enforced as of the 1st of October. So they are ready to go. And the obligation applies to all Ukrainian women between the ages of 18 and 60. So the girls who've been partying at those Kiev nightclubs, you've seen all the videos of these girls partying, and everyone's wondering, like, why are you guys, even Zelensky got angry about it and said, hey, stop partying, go fight. He yelled at these people at the nightclubs. Well,
I mean, they look like stone cold killers.
Right. You want those women.
Yeah.
You want those women on the front lines, especially in winter, right?
Right.
When it gets cold, there's nothing women love more than the cold. Right?
Yeah.
Wear that outfit out on the front lines against the Russian forces. So that's exactly what's going to happen. And of course, they've rolled out new recruitment videos over the past few weeks to get the women ready for what's coming in Ukraine, NATO's war. They need the women. They need more meat in the meat grinder. Watch.
Я просто жінка. Грішна і свята, слабка і сильна, сіра і яскрава.
Yeah, so sign up now. And, the dirty little secret, of course, in all of this is what's actually happening underneath the table. Ukraine is the most corrupt country in Europe. And so many of the men, when you're seeing those nightclub videos, you're like, why are those young men still there? Like, how are they still there? Well, it's a little thing called money. When parents pay off the corrupt government of Ukraine, these men don't have to go to the war. They get out of it, right? They get either flown out of the country or they're able to hang out at nightclubs and they're part of the elite class there and they just pay some money, right? That's how it works. So will the women be able to also do that if they have money? I mean, I guess if their families have money, they'll get out of it as well. They can continue partying at the nightclubs. Even CBS News covered how the nightclubs in Kiev are booming right now. Nightlife in Kiev is booming, and it looks good for all of these wealthy kids of aristocrats in Ukraine. And I guess we'll see if they end up on the front lines. But here's CBS News and the nightclubs.
We welcome you back to CBS Mornings. As the war rages in Ukraine and cities are pounded by the Russian missiles, you may be surprised to learn that the nightlife in the country, well, it's thriving. The bars, the clubs, and the restaurants, they are all packed. Charlie D'Agata met up with customers and business owners to find out why the partying has not stopped.
Yeah, it continues to go. And so why are those young men sitting there just drinking beer, drinking whatever and hanging out? Well, again, the money. So, again, we'll see.
But wait, CBS, didn't you tell us that the war was in Kiev?
Yeah, right. They're being bombed everywhere.
I guess we're not supposed to ask intelligent questions like, oh, wait a minute. Why is that possible when you're telling us that it's war torn and we saw Angelina Jolie running through the streets from shelling?
Oh, no. And Sean Penn, like he was ducking for cover.
Right.
Remember? It's like, oh, my God, it's a war zone.
Yeah. And that kind of thing. So, okay.
Well, the dirty little secret here for the women's side of this conscription is it's unlike the men. So the new law that went in on October 1st, women aren't allowed. Women can leave kind of freely. There's no restriction on them leaving the country. So I imagine Europe, you're going to see a lot of Ukrainian women showing up. Like a lot of young Ukrainian women are going to be, pouring around into different parts of Europe if those countries will allow them. So unlike the men, men are restricted. They cannot leave. If you're of military fighting age in Ukraine, you cannot leave. But women, still, that law allows them to leave. So it'll be interesting to see how many of them are actually fleeing that country. Friday, though, something happened in Ukraine which got little fanfare in the West, almost no coverage of it whatsoever. The Western media was focused on the government shutdown and Trump indictments, of course, and largely ignored the story. The Associated Press, though, covered it because the AP, of course, is an extension of the military-industrial complex. Here was the headline: Ukraine hosts a defense industry forum seeking to ramp up weapons production for the war. So diving into this, Ukrainian President Zelensky held a meeting in Ukraine with 250 defense industry corporations from 30 different countries. 250 different defense industry corporations from 30 different countries, all warmongers who are profiteering off of war. They came there in order to open factories in Ukraine instead of waiting on weapons to be shipped from other countries. So Zelensky invited them, saying, basically, we don't want the third party. We don't want to have to ask the United States for weapons anymore. Build them here and we'll get first dibs on them. That's the idea. And just open the factories here and we won't have to wait anymore on these weapons from these other countries, Germany, France, etc. We'll just get them right here. Zelensky called it an arsenal of democracy and an arsenal of the free world. Yeah, This is literally what he called it, the arsenal of the free world. As great anti-war journalist Caitlin Johnstone explains, Zelensky's speech twice made use of the phrase defense industrial complex and used the phrase arsenal of the free world no fewer than 3 times. Quote, Ukraine is developing a special economic regime for the defense industrial complex, Zelensky said, to give all opportunities to realize their potential to every company that works for the sake of defense in Ukraine and with Ukraine or that wants to come to Ukraine. So open up, baby. The floodgates of money are ready to rain down upon you. And Zelensky even tweeted the same thing. Here's his tweet. We held the first defense industry forum in Ukraine, gathering 252 leading defense companies from over 30 countries, North America, Australia, and Asia. Right now, the most powerful military industrial complexes are being determined. So, when we use I don't know if he understands this, but like when we use the term military industrial complex,
it's a negative thing.
It's a pejorative. Yes.
Yeah, it's got a negative connotation.
But he's like, we're building the strongest military industrial complex.
That's the world we don't want, guy.
Yeah, maybe you don't want that, but he's like all in on it. Of course, he's right. I mean, he's not pulling any punches on this. The military-industrial complex wants nothing more than to turn Ukraine into a giant arms factory. That's exactly what they want. Paid for with your tax dollars, not just in the United States, of course, but in the UK, in Germany, in Canada. Your money is going to create these weapons and funnel them over into Ukraine. All of those countries I just mentioned doubled down on additional monies and weapons to Ukraine. So while your countries begin to crumble, Germany, United States, we're taking care of Ukraine. That's no problem. So the mainstream media in the U.S. is totally on board with this, as you can imagine. Here's the Wall Street Journal's amazing piece of journalism in support of the military-industrial complex. They titled this piece, In Defense of the Defense Industry. And basically the crux of the article is that we should all be on board with these guys because these guys are keeping you safe. These guys, if we didn't have the Raytheons, the Northrop Grummons, and building all of these weapons and all of these aircraft and all of that Putin would literally be invading you. Those were his words, literally in the article. If we didn't have the military-industrial complex, these thugs, these hooligans, these tyrants would be invading you, and you would be less safe as a result of it. Of course, no one stands to make more money in this boondoggle than BlackRock, and BlackRock owns huge stakes in Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman. Isn't it amazing? I mean, they literally own all of these companies. These firms are the top recipients of Pentagon funds. As William Hartung reports, the weapons companies supported by BlackRock are also on the leading edge of the Pentagon's dangerous and unnecessary $1.2 trillion nuclear weapons buildup, which aims to create a new generation of nuclear bombers. Northrop Grumman, ballistic missile submarines, General Dynamics, nuclear warheads, Honeywell, Bechtel, and other firms, a submarine-launched ballistics missiles, Lockheed Martin, and more. Of course, but the point on the front end of this, just on the front end, which is the destruction of Ukraine and an extended war with Russia that experts predict will go well past 2030. You see, BlackRock makes money on the weapons, right? And they make money on the rebuilding. Basically, BlackRock destroys Ukraine and then also rebuilds Ukraine. That's a hell of a business model. How'd they get their hands in that? So they're making money on the front end, destroying Ukraine, and then they're making money on the back end, rebuilding it.
That's a double dipper.
I mean, talk about it. Wake up, people. I mean, seriously, wake up. Of course, BlackRock then owns all of the media as well. So in this scenario where they're destroying Ukraine and then rebuilding Ukraine, the media is complicit. It's supporting all of this. And all you need to do is turn on your corporate press to see it. I mean, here's Aaron Burnett, basically CNN anchors reminding you why it's good for BlackRock to make a lot of money from war because they're American companies.
It's worthwhile with all of this gaining, some steam in public perception to be clear on some facts. First and foremost, the vast majority of this money is going to American companies and jobs, right? Because those are the people who are making the Abrams tanks, the ammo, and everything else. And we take Lockheed Martin, which makes the HIMARS that have been core to Ukraine's counteroffensive. The company announced it's going to increase its workforce in Camden, Arkansas by 20% just because of this new demand. That money's going to America.
Yeah. Okay, that's what you call a transfer of government funds to private America.
Oh my God, that money's going to America.
But we're going to kill people.
Yeah. Do you feel good about that? I mean, I like Daniel Edmonds writes a super chat, your $5 super chat. Daniel says, how is breaking into someone's house, killing their dog, stealing their stuff considered defense? We live in a clown world. Yes, exactly, Daniel. That is. Well, we are defending democracy. BlackRock famously bought millions more shares of Fox News back in January. And then, of course, a few weeks later, Tucker Carlson was fired after he ran this report on BlackRock. Why was he fired? Watch this.
So, of course, the war in Ukraine has totally destroyed Ukraine, killed over 100,000 Ukrainians, but it's still going. Why is that? Because the Biden administration has kept it going. They could have forced a peace. They haven't. They don't want to. Why is that? Why kill all these Ukrainians? Why destroy an entire country? Well, because people are getting rich. BlackRock plans to get rich. So BlackRock is now saying out loud that the war in Ukraine, the death of all these Ukrainians, is actually a great opportunity to transform Ukraine into a beacon of capitalism. Right.
Right.
So
George in the chat says it sounds like Halliburton. Like, oh, where have we heard this scheme before? It worked, right?
Yeah.
If you're not familiar with the Vice President Cheney's investment in Halliburton and how it relates to that war in Iraq, yes, pull the thread. Good point, George.
yeah, follow the 9/11 thread if you dare. We've got plenty of videos on 9/11 here on the channel that I encourage all of you to watch. In fact, a big video that we just did on the hijackers this past week with Kevin Ryan. Watch that. You can start to pull the threads on who stands to make the most money here. And then, of course, Tucker was fired after that. And do you see how the world works, guys? Like, do you see how BlackRock, do you see how these few firms that run everything, control everything? By the way, just a side note. Today, like if you go on Google and you just type in the Google search term BlackRock Ukraine, good luck finding all of the information that I just brought you here about how much money they stand to make, all of that. No. The first search result you'll get is from BlackRock's own website, blackrock.com, where they analyze the war in Ukraine. So the very first result, and then if you want to type even more results, more queries, BlackRock, Ukraine, money, scheme, anything like that. No. Good luck finding information. It'll be buried. Because, well, these large firms invest in all of the search results as well, and search giants, and in big tech. So good luck getting information. This is how the world works. Tucker speaks out about it, and then he gets fired because BlackRock buys up all these shares of Fox News Corporation. That's how it goes. That's what happens. So when you turn on your mainstream media, you're not going to get any kind of open, fair, honest discussion because they're all controlled. Even when you have these new anchors that fill in now for Tucker's spot and start, like, oh, they're really sticking it to the man. Remember who pays their paycheck. Just remember that. These corporate media hacks have their paychecks paid by these corrupt corporations that are running the world. And, this is how it all works. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of Ukrainian men have died in NATO's war because they don't care about Ukraine and they don't care about the men that are dying in Ukraine. Let us know your thoughts on this in the comments below.